Namaskar, everybody. Thanks, Tricon, and thanks for all the attendees and defense delegates who are here for joining this session. Uh, my name is Aashutosh Varma. While we just set up the laptop, uh, my presentation primarily is to give a view on what Nokia's thoughts are from defense point of view, and where do we stand in India. So uh, Nokia, I guess most of us are already aware of what Nokia is. So Nokia primarily is a OEM who provides communication networks to all CSPs as we speak in India also and globally. And our presence in India has been there since 1995, where we have our corporate office in Gurgaon. We have our sales office for our local customers in Mumbai. We have a R&D set up in Bangalore, from where we do a software development for most of our products globally, and it is exported from, the export also happens from our Chennai factory, which is the factory where we produce our equipments. Incidentally, the most important factor being, for consecutively last 3 years, we've been given the award at India Mobile Congress for being the biggest exporter of the year. So that's an achievement for us. Being part of the ecosystem of India, we're very proud on this aspect that yes, we have been contributing for facilitating the network, how the networks within India and also abroad are able to grow. So we have apart from the basic Chennai factory, we have our global delivery centers. So our software support or rather the solution support for even our global customers is being handled from our Noida or the Chennai setups. So that's the setup where we do kind of an O&M for global networks and also for many of the Indian networks. So we are not just facilitating on the OEM part of it, but we are also facilitating on how the networks could be maintained, not only for India, but for globally also. And that's how we're facilitating at multiple levels. At an OEM level from the manufacturer and exporter point of view, and at the service level where we are giving service quality for global customers. Now coming to the more inherent topic of this seminar. What is it for the networks? So how Nokia sees the networks for defense is under three broad perspectives: strategic, operative, and tactical. Now strategic, definitely as the name suggests, is more centric towards a network which is robust, which has to be brought up over technologies, starting from 4G to 5G and moving on ahead to 6G. And that would require a robust backhaul understanding of how all the basic legacy equipments could be connected on to the new technologies. It has to be secure, thereby, facilitating some networks like the NFS network, which currently is already deployed. You could use those and grow upon those networks for a headquarter or a command center kind of a scenario, which is a stable setup that happens. On the operative level, it is more on a flexible unit, which is moving or little nomadic in nature, but then it also requires the same level of technology evolution of 4G or 5G, scaling possibilities, having a possibility of connecting from satellite to their basic hardware headquarters, wherever the command or control could be happening. And lastly, the tactical. This is where the most juice of the actual action happens, where the front line or the actual defense companies who are in forward areas are able to utilize this. Now there, it is the setup which is actually growing in the ecosystem with applications and devices, connected devices coming through. This is where we play for the tactical part of it. So as part of our tactical, I'll start with a tactical solution. So we have a stall right behind where we are showcasing our tactical solution, the BTR, which is a backpack solution where we are able to give two-band support for the frontline forces, and it has a managed backhaul available. It can support up to 128 users and a very flexible unit which could be deployed, taken across to front lines for facilitating a bubble kind of a connectivity. Second comes our BXR, which is a deployable portfolio. Now, this is a portfolio which is a little bulkier than the actual man pack or a pack which could be done on the shoulders, but then has bigger capabilities to cater to bigger, larger units of up to about 800 users. Now here you have a possibility of having 6 carriers which could be used. We could have multiple band setups that could be there, a definite edge computing, more edge computing which could be facilitated with this unit, thereby giving flexibility of having the edge applications to be directly onboarded onto the device. So these are the basic two products that we would want to showcase from a tactical viewpoint. Of course, all of these through a satellite uplink or a MANET can talk between the bubbles or to the headquarters through the satellite. Of course, as I was mentioning, tactical is where the more action is really happening. So we would want the BTR or the BMR to actually have multiple ecosystem connectivity possible. Now that's what we are doing. Even with our tactical BTR or a backpack which is there is a possibility of having a little amount of edge computing available. So you could have either a camera or a robotics or some kind of sensors that could be connected onto those devices or onto the network, and a device connectivity and having a local understanding or a sensing perspective could be brought in. Now from the deployable perspective, it becomes much more. You could have much larger amount of sensors and cameras that could be connected, and hence giving a much bigger view of the intelligence that could be picked up from the network. Now moving to the actual operational or a strategic network point of view. So I would just quickly touch upon the actual portfolio that we could share, which is usable for the defense across the sections, whether it be Army, Navy, or Air Force. So I'll start with my microwave portfolio. So in my microwave portfolio, I have a possibility of short haul as well as long haul. Now in the short haul, we have microwaves which are small with inbuilt antennas while having a possibility of almost 20 Gbps of throughput that could be looked into. Also a similar UBT product which has a functional and specification for attaching a normal standard antenna also is there. Furthermore, this is more on the millimeter wave kind of scenarios for higher wavelengths. But then we also have a 10 Gbps microwave, which is UBT for either a single band or a dual carrier scenarios. Now, if we move towards the long haul perspective, so in long haul, we again have a dual carrier or a single carrier product. Furthermore, there is a possibility, since the tower heights for these long hauls could be very high, thereby a possibility of installing all of those on a rack mounted below or nearby area is also possible, thereby facilitating the quick operations on how a microwave could be maintained. And we have a OCM which could aggregate up to 16 channels as needed, thereby a full spectrum of requirement from the ODU point of view from Nokia for defense. On the IDO setup, we have within our AirScale, which is the radio RAN products also, there is a possibility to connect directly the microwave ODUs onto our the baseband units. Or we could have a pizza box kind of a setup where you could have either a gigabit or a 10 gigabit kind of a connectivity that you could really use up. Or you could have a chassis-based scenario where you could have redundancy levels that could be built up. So a full spectrum of solution, however you would want from a microwave level. Now moving to the radio or the RAN part of it. So this is like a short bouquet of what really Nokia has, starting with our basic RRH setup, where we could give up to 80 watts of power for our products. Then we have our massive MIMO kind of scenarios with array antennas. Those benefit on the specific pinpointing of the accuracy on the signals and latching onto the devices. This is one of our very USP kind of a product, which is the interleaved panel. So it's a combination of an array and a standard antenna built up together. Then we also have a small cell, although not much relevant from sort of a macro environment perspective, but still we do have a full portfolio of small cells where we have the all-in-one unit, where we have the baseband as well as the RRH built into the same box. And it's like a very small unit, a small cell kind of a scenario where you could give a pinpointed indoor coverage as you would really want. And of course, the baseband units, where we have a full chassis-based unit, which has redundancies and capacity and possibilities of moving forward for either 4G or 5G as a technology. So all the products that we are giving here are compatible from a scaling point of view of technology. So if you deploy this for a 4G, the same would also function for the 5G. Of course, this one is an AMOE, which is our outdoor deployable unit. And we also have pizza boxes, which could be small, compact BBUs as per requirement. So I briefly touched upon the aspect of the radio or the actual networks part of it, while Nokia also has multiple other portfolios, which I would like to just quickly touch upon. So since I've already touched upon the radio, backhaul, and the tactical part of it, I'll skim through those. On the backhaul, I would say that we also have a big portfolio of IP routing with our IP MPLS and routers, whether it could be an edge router or a core router with whatever functionalities. We have strong presence in many of enterprises globally and also in India. Even in NFS, actually, we have deployed this setup there. So that's one of our portfolios. The other being passive optical LAN, ONT. We have some specific ruggedized CPs which could connect at the field areas. And the core. Of course, the core is the heart of a 4G or a 5G network, where we could, it's a cloud core based, fully redundant, highly acceptable with 5 nines of availability, and deployable, and we have global presence, whether in India or in abroad, for this specific core that we've deployed. Apart from that, we have some partners through which we provide the applications, although not limiting only, because we definitely not in much in the application ecosystem, but we are more on the network ecosystem as Nokia. But we definitely facilitate with partners for bringing upon new applications that could really help the organizations. So that's where we can support on further on. And that was a sort of a very quick, brief understanding on what Nokia does, how the networks could be scaling based on the product. The same product could really enhance from 4G to 5G, and the capability set could be grown as an organization. And in case, please do connect up with our colleagues. And I would again encourage you to visit our stall just behind, where we are showcasing our BTR solution. And open to questions and queries, Jay.